To become a force to be reckoned with in life is not a walk in the park. It requires tremendous effort. Accordingly, the story of the first African-American civil aviator is one that can engender inspiration in regard to how the impossible can become possible. Despite race and gender discrimination, Bessie Coleman became the first African-American to acquire a pilot's license. This was an astounding feat because it came to fruition in an era when race and gender were major determinants of one's results. So, who is Bessie Coleman? Bessie, also known as Queen Bess or Brave Bessie, was born in Atlanta, Texas on January 26, 1892. Her parents were Susan and George Coleman, and she was the 10th of 13 children. They all picked cotton on the farm and earned a living as hardscrabble sharecroppers. As time went by, she did other odd jobs, but it was not enough to fund her studies. Bessie's future kicked into gear when she fell in love with her school's activities, and as a consequence, she had excellent results in mathematics. She started school at the age of 6 in Texas, and at 12 she was granted a scholarship to attend the Missionary Baptist Church School. When she clocked 18, she withdrew all her savings and enrolled in Lansing University, Oklahoma. Notwithstanding, she barely completed a term before her savings finished. She had no option but to return home. In 1915, Coleman moved to Chicago, where she lived with her brothers. She did menial jobs, during which time she heard intriguing stories about flying over the course of World War I. She managed to save some money in the hope of becoming a pilot someday. Oddly enough, in those days, American flight schools do not admit women nor black people. In this regard, the founder and publisher of the Chicago's Defender newspaper, Robert Abbott, encouraged her to study abroad. Luckily, she received financial support from banker J.C. Binger and the Defender. When she arrived in France in 1921, a recent accident had occurred and the flight schools were closed to women. Accordingly, she joined the Cordron brothers, who operated the best flying school at the time, and she successfully convinced them to teach her how to fly. Although the school was miles away from where she lived, still, she was determined. Coleman's dream came to reality the same year after she secured a license to fly. This made her the first ever African American to obtain a license from the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale. After earning the license, she did further training in Germany, and she was taught how to handle primitive aircraft. Upon her return to the US, she began to perform in the Chicago area. She did aerobatic loops and figure eights, and in 1925, she relocated to Houston and performed throughout the South. It is noteworthy to mention she was also passionate about establishing a flying school for African Americans. Nonetheless, this lofty aspiration could not see the light of day. She died on 30 April 1926 during a practice flight for an air show in Jacksonville, Florida. According to reports, her seatbelts were not fastened at the time, and the plane went into a nosedive and crashed. It was later discovered that the wrench that had been used to service the engine had made the controls malfunction. Even though she had a short career, she is still celebrated and honored in aviation clubs. In point of fact, the 1995 US postal stamps were made as a tribute to her memory. More crucially, her life is a fount of inspiration for many young African Americans.